Good morning, sir. We check the time now. It's 3 minutes past 8 on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Good morning to you. The program is Radio Link, and this is the first edition. We will be discussing promoting human rights in the country as Nigeria joins the global community to commemorate World Human Rights Day. My name is Harriet Parkinson. Now, let's begin with establishing how the day came about. Human Rights Day is observed every year on the 10th of December. The day in 1948 by the United Nations was set aside by the United Nations General Assembly. This year, Human Rights Day marks the 72nd anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a milestone document that proclaimed the inalienable rights that everyone, regardless of race, color, and religion, should be given equal rights. It is the most translated document in the world, made available in 500 languages. In Nigeria, the National Human Rights Commission of Nigeria was established by the National Human Rights Commission Rights Act of 1995 with resolution of the United Nations General Assembly, which enjoins all member states to establish independent national institutions for the promotion, protection, and enforcement of human rights. Now, the Commission serves as an extrajudicial mechanism for the enhancement of the enjoyment of human rights. Its establishment is also aimed at creating an enabling environment for the protection, promotion, and enforcement of human rights. The Commission's power was to strengthen the National Human Rights Commission Act of 2010, which conferred on the Commission additional independence to promote and protect human rights and enforcement of decisions. I keep emphasizing on that. The Act also widened the scope of the Commission's mandate to include vetting legislation at all levels to ensure their compliance with human rights norms. How then is the National Human Rights Commission doing to promote and protect human rights in the country? To discuss this, we have in the studio Mr. Anthony. Okay, should I just leave it at Tony?
Yeah.
We have Mr. Tony Ojukwu, the substantive executive secretary of the National Human Rights Commission. Prior to his appointment, Mr. Ojukwu was the director monitoring, one-time director legal services, director protection and investigation, and director executive secretary's office of the commission. He was also a former special assistant to the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, and also a one-time administrative secretary of the defunct National Electoral Commission in Imo State. He has 32 years post-call to bar experience, out of which 17 years has been spent in the commission. His experiences cuts across prosecution of cases, election management, and private legal practice. You're welcome to Radio Link.
Thank you very much.
Now, at the appropriate time, we shall open the phone lines for your valued contributions. We do implore you to be brief and straight to the point, 1 minute only. You know, it's just 1 hour. Please help us. When you get through to us, help us to stick to this rules. The number to call, 0807-622-6771. For those who do not know the number, 0807-622-6771. We are streaming live on www.facebook.com or Radio Nigeria Network, or simply Radio Nigeria. Then for your emails, you can send to frcandcurrentaffairs@yahoo.com. On this program, we will take calls as they come. Now, how can we describe human rights in the country, Mr. Ojukwu?
Well, human rights in Nigeria is very progressive. I think we are doing well, but we could do better. To look at the situation now and what the future portends, we should also look at our past, because it is when you know where you started from that will help you to know whether you are making progress or not. If we look at our history in Nigeria, where we started with military rule for a large portion of our period since our independence, you'll agree with me that certainly the situation now is far, far better than what it was during the military rule. Consistent period of democracy started effectively from 1999. You will agree with me that the period before 1999, the rights, protection and promotion were at a lower ebb than what it is today. Today, at least the chapter 4 of the Constitution is there, which is usually suspended during military period. Now every Nigerian has a right under chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution, as well as chapter 2 of the Constitution. Now it is not Uhuru, because there's also the constant challenge to violate human rights. But the freedom of the situation is that if your human rights is violated today, you can challenge it. You can effectively challenge your rights and also get justice. So I would say that Nigerians are in an environment where yet there's no guarantee that human rights will not be violated, but if it is violated, Nigerians have the freedom to challenge that violation and have the possibility to get justice from the courts of the land. So I would say we are very free to enjoy our rights and protect and fight for our rights in Nigeria today. Okay,
now the issue of human rights has been a burning issue in the country, especially during this recent NSAS protests. Many people, do not want to talk about it, but then you are in the right position to do this morning. How can you describe human rights abuse regarding the protests?
Well, the protest is a clear statement on the ability of Nigerians to fight for their rights. That is what it simply means. Because what was the NSAS about? NSAS was just a complaint about police brutality over the years. And to show their freedom, it got to a point after several attempts to contain the police, which has been finding it difficult to transform from military mentality to civilian democracy mentality. So the NSAS was a statement by Nigerians that you must transit from a period of military domination to a period of civilian domination where liberties are respected. That was the clear statement being made during the NSAS movement, which further emphasizes the fact that Nigerians are able to fight for their rights. That was the statement being made by NSAS movement. Now, the reaction of the different parties to the challenges thrown out by the NSAS movement is also a clear statement that it is not yet Uhuru in Nigeria in terms of fighting for our rights. The people who had the way they were able to freely express their rights, and then there was a pushback from the law enforcement agents, which of course took us to where we are today. And but the beauty of it is that every party, those whose rights have been violated, are able to go to court to challenge the actions, and the courts will determine, because in a true democracy, if your right is violated and you have the freedom to go to court to challenge your right and get your right restored, it is part of the beauty of democracy. That wouldn't have been possible in a military rule. So I would say that despite the challenges posed by the NSAS protests and the reaction of the authorities to it, I think the system is taking care of that, because there is there is freedom for expression of rights and defense of rights in the country as it is today.
So one of the fallouts of the NSAS movement is the public hearings that the National Human Rights Commission on Human Rights Abuses by SAS. Can you speak about these public hearings?
The public hearings, once more, are also a statement of the freedom to press for accountability if rights are violated. Now, the public hearings were a kind of response, and that was a right response to the clamor by the NSAS movement to end police brutality. So these public hearings are targeted at giving members of the public an opportunity to make their complaints. Now, they are given opportunity to make these complaints publicly, to accuse the violators publicly, and the violators also have a free opportunity to come and defend themselves, because under our constitution, it is very clear that anybody who is accused of anything should be given opportunity to defend himself or herself. So the public hearing is in strict compliance with the requirements of our constitution, that anybody whose right is violated should complain, and if that person complains, the person he is accusing should also have the freedom to freely defend himself, even with a legal practitioner of his own choice. So with the avalanche of complaints about police brutality, it was very important that the Human Rights Commission, as well as the government, responded by giving members of the public opportunity to lay their complaints, and these complaints are being looked into by the various panels of inquiry. You see, people have been talking about why should it not be one panel by the Human Rights Commission in Abuja. That could be in an ideal situation, and in the past it used to be one panel to investigate police violations by the National Human Rights Commission, either in Abuja or rotated around the states. But looking at what happened during the EndSARS movement, which was national, the EndSARS protest happened in all the 36 states of the country. Now, if you just have one panel by the National Human Rights Commission in Abuja, that panel, that means that if it sits in Lagos today, the people in Enugu will be waiting. When he's sitting in Enugu, the people in Kaduna will be waiting. When he sits in Kaduna, the people in Sokoto will be waiting. When he sits in Sokoto, the people in Cross River will be waiting. And people's patience will snap. People's patience will snap again. That was why it was logistically and operationally advisable that, because of the volume of complaints, it was more pragmatic, it was more proactive to have these panels with the members of the National Human Rights Commission being present in all these panels in all the states, so that frayed nerves will be calmed, so that people will be assured that their complaints, they have an opportunity to lay their complaints. And of course, we also have the panel sitting in Abuja here, and you can agree with me that these panels have received a huge number of complaints, which shows that people believe in it, people are accessing it, and on our own part, we know the possible challenges could be that some of the victims, some of the people who are complaining, may not even know how to articulate their complaints. And then a lot of people are not familiar in a court environment, or the environment where a judicial panel is sitting. Is an investigative panel, quite all right, but a lot of people are not familiar with how to articulate their interests or canvass their interests in such a situation. So the National Human Rights Commission is partnering with the Nigerian Bar Association. Nigerian Bar Association is farming out lawyers who are in these panels, who can help citizens who want to, first of all, articulate their petition in a proper way so that it will meet the standards required, and also assist people in presenting their cases before these panels of inquiry. The whole idea is to offer pro bono services to as many Nigerians as possible, so that as many people as possible will have a fair opportunity to put their complaints out there, and these panels will now admit the justice. Now, the panels are sitting for a period of 6 months. This is to emphasize the urgency of the situation. It's not a matter of sitting forever and ever. We want to see that people don't get impatient, people don't wait forever. These panels are sitting day and night to make sure that within these 6 months, as many of the complaints as possible would have been listened to, and then a report made to government. And then these panels are also going to deal with cases of accountability, and also accountability could be in the form of, if they find out that an officer has actually violated the rights of people, it could be in the form of disciplining that officer, maybe demotion in rank, or dismissal of the officer, or prosecution of the officer, in a court of law, and the such officer, if found guilty, can be jailed. It could also be in the form of compensation, for damages the person has suffered. It could also be in the form of apology, because the Constitution says that if a right has been violated, there are certain things that must be done. Things like public apology in the newspaper, things like compensation, things like trial, things like disciplinary action, and this will be channeled to the appropriate quarters. And the National Human Rights Commission is working closely with the government to make sure that all these processes are followed.
Okay, let's look at the participation of government and security agencies. How effective has it been so far?
Of course, the participation of the security agencies are very, very crucial. And at the inception, the police was informed, and they have sent lawyers whose duty it is to defend the police at these panels. And all these panels have lawyers, have police lawyers who are defending the police. Also, the police also establish a liaison officer with these panels, so that these liaison officers have the duty to make sure that all police officers who are required in these panels, they are brought to the panels, and that is happening. You can, if you most of the activities of the panels are being streamed live, and just to make sure that the members of public are following, and to make sure that any officer who is affected is able to get notice, they are served and given fair hearing, to even come with lawyers of their choice to come and defend themselves at the panel. So far, we're not experiencing more challenge. The only challenge is that some of these officers have been transferred to several places, but the police is trying to make sure that wherever these officers are, they come to answer any questions against them before the panels.
Okay. Some of the benefits of the return to civil rule are the liberties that people did not enjoy at that period. In terms of protection, what measures has the Commission taken to ensure uniform and speedy treatment of complaints across the country? I know you said mentioned some things, but let's hear more.
Yeah, the Commission, when it was established in 1995, it became operational in 1996. It had only 6 zonal offices in this country. We had an office in Enugu, we had an office in Lagos, we had an office in Port Harcourt, we had an office in Maiduguri, we had an office in Kano, it had an office in Jos. So you can imagine such a wide country, with only 6 access points. But as of today, the Commission has offices in the 36 states of the country. So the whole essence of that is to give access to people, to bring the services of the Commission nearer to the people, so that those who have complaints have a place where they can go and lay their complaints. We have been able to achieve that, and that has also increased the number of complaints that the Commission receives. The Commission at inception maximum could receive 100,000 complaints in a year, but right now we receive up to 1 million complaints in a year, and we are also now using ICT to increase our access, because before maybe you have to come physically to lodge your complaint, but now you can write a letter. You can send your complaint by letter to us. You can send it by email. We have a call center. You can make a call and lodge a complaint. All these have increased the access of Nigerians to the Commission. The challenge is the infrastructure, the equipment we need to use to respond to this level of complaints are lacking, in the sense that also the resources available to the Commission are highly limited. If you look at the budget of the Commission compared to the budget of other MDAs, you find out that it's just like a drop in the ocean. Yet we are expected to serve as many Nigerians as possible. But we are dealing with the situation. We are trying our best. We keep encouraging government to keep improving the infrastructure of the Commission. We also, in collaboration with the National Assembly, the Act establishing the Commission was amended in 2010 to establish what we call a Human Rights Fund, realizing the challenge of funding to the Commission. That Human Rights Fund is a fund which every Nigerian can make contributions to. governments at both the federal, state, and local government level can donate funds to the commission to enable them to do their work. Development partners can make donations to that, multinational companies, private companies. But unfortunately, that fund has not yet been activated. People have not yet started donating funds to that fund, and such fund could help the commission so much. For instance, things like COVID-19 or the NSAS movement was not foreseen by anybody. And there's no way it could have been in the budget of the commission that year to deal with COVID-19 challenges or the NSAS movement. So there is need for such a standing fund for the commission, which the commission can use to respond immediately to cases of human rights violation. Look at the issues of insurgency. Look at the issues of kidnapping happening in several parts of the country, and the insecurity situation in the country. So we must emphasize that we must find a way to make sure that we're able to deal with the human rights situations, and that can help the country a lot, because small problems solved by dealing with human rights situations can avert a major catastrophe. And because these things are averted, nobody thinks about them, but we must consciously know that we need to deal with issues of human rights so that we can have a better country for everybody.
The program is Radio Link on the network service of Radio Nigeria, and we are talking about human rights in the country. Of course, it is in commemoration of Human Rights Day coming very soon, which is on the 10th of December every year. This year, we have decided to actually bring the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission to talk about what the Commission has been doing so far. Specifically, we are looking at what we have just come out of. That's the NSAS movement. Now, how many cases, Executive Secretary, sir, how many cases of human rights are you handling in the Commission now, and how many have been prosecuted?
Well, right now, like I said, we are at the verge of almost hitting about 1 million complaints this year. Of course, if you look at the number of cases of violations during the insurgency, cases of farmers herders clashes, cases of kidnapping and insecurity, cases of police brutality, and also violation of the right of police officers. Some of them, their rights were violated during the NSAS movement. Some police officers lost their life, and we really want to also commiserate with the Nigerian police force for the officers lost, for the properties that were lost, and other law enforcement officers who also lost their life, because every life matters, whether it's the life of a security personnel or the life of citizens. So, but for the panel, for instance, in Abuja, the panel in Abuja should will have almost 200 and something complaints now, with the panel in Abuja is sitting, and then you can see that the panels in all the states, some have up to 50 complaints, some 100 complaints, some all various degrees of complaints all over the country. And well, the complaints are ongoing because of the requirement that you must follow a human rights compliant way to process these complaints. Everybody must be given fair hearing. We cannot know exactly now how many will be prosecuted or how many will be disciplined. It will come at the end of the sittings, which will hopefully in the next couple of months. We have already done 1 month, so it's remaining about 5 months to the end of the sitting. So it's only by then we'll be able to know how many of the complaints will end up in prosecution, in disciplinary action, in compensation, in damages, and so on and so forth. But so far so good. There are horrible cases coming up in the panels, and it just at times is a big challenge to even stay without shedding tears when you visit some of these panels of inquiry. You start wondering how we have degenerated to this as a country. The law enforcement agents we are carrying on as telling people we'll deal with you, can kill you, and nothing will happen. And it seemed as if that was happening. But my happiness about the situation now is that the government, the commission, and everybody is rising up to the need for accountability. Because the difference between our clients and the Western world is There are human rights violations everywhere. The Black Lives Matter is still a case in point. But the difference here is when these violations occur, there seems to be a lot of challenge in holding the people accountable. And that is the narrative we want to change with these panels of inquiry. You remember that before these panels of inquiry, there was a presidential panel on SARS reforms, which the commission spearheaded. And for the first time, these officers were recommended for disciplinary action and for prosecution. Right now, all the people who were recommended for disciplinary action by the former presidential panel, this has been communicated to the various state attorney generals, to the various to police commands, and I believe action is going on to take disciplinary action about these officers. So we want to change the narrative so that every police officer, every law enforcement officer will know, if you decide to carry out your law enforcement duty with neglect of human rights, with violation of human rights, there will be a day of accountability. And once we are able to establish that, we believe it will reduce the level of police brutality. It will reduce the level of impunity by law enforcement agents, because it has gone on for so long that police officers violate people's rights. They have taken it for granted that people will not do anything or not.
Before the NSAS, were you receiving cases like this?
Of course, there have been so many
then
cases.
What was being done then?
Don't forget, I told you that in 2018 to 2019, we did a presidential panel on police brutality. That is the one that's been implemented now. But it is due to the weak implementation of that the NSAS, because people have asked if the former panel reports were implemented, maybe the NSAS protest wouldn't have started, But you see, I discovered that we have a culture of hesitation to hold people accountable. It runs across the entire system. Look at the issue of sexual and gender-based violence in the country, in the communities, in the homes. When you have cases of sexual and gender-based violence, the tendency is always to maybe cover it up. In the family, they will say no, they will spoil the name of the family. Oh, he's an older person, we don't want him to be humiliated. The victim's interest is always subjected to maybe one explanation or the other. So police officer is trying to catch a criminal, okay, and then he catches the criminal quite all right. But he now thinks, I don't want him to go through the court system. Let me kill him here because I caught him. And he extrajudicially killed him. And you try to say, this is wrong. You can't do this. The Constitution says that nobody is guilty until proven and convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction. It doesn't lie in your hand. You don't have the authority. Your own is to investigate and report to court. You cannot on your own decide to kill the criminal. So a criminal has rights. It is only the court that can say, because if you don't do that, if you don't go through that due process of making sure that the criminal has passed through the judicial system to really confirm that he is. Otherwise, anybody can easily brand you a criminal and kill you. That is the danger of abuse, and that is the impunity we have today, because the abuse of the system by law enforcement agents, by taking the law into their hand, is the consequence of the NSAS movement and where we are today.
All right, we are expecting you to call now. It's 29 minutes before 9 o'clock. Remember, 9 o'clock is termination point, where we would hand over to Lagos. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Radio Link.
Hey. Harriet?
Yes, please. Welcome.
My name is Ojukwu. I'm reaching you from Ila, Delta State. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I guess in the house.
Thank you.
I was rather amazed initially when the NSAS started. And I thought your organization was playing the ostrich. But now that you've explained, it's okay. We have a habit of passing the buck. If, for example, you had insisted when you made that first report about SARS, your first observation, you insisted that something has to be done. I am sure the powers that be will do something. You admitted yourself that we have a habit of foot dragging on important issues in this country. It shouldn't be. Look at what this NSAS cost us. Although the young people made a statement, yes, which is the first time in this country, and we are all aware of that, but it went out of hand. And a lot of people got hurt in the process. Sir, please, the human rights organization, can you ask the government to implement the rule of law? The rule of law. This particular government is always guilty of that, keeping the rule of law. If we have the rule of law, then our human rights will be put correctly. We don't do that. Let's begin to cultivate the habit of sticking to the law. And what is human rights? Respect. Respect for each other. That is the bottom line. We don't do a lot of things, or a lot of that these days in this country. And that has been one of our values, African, Nigerian values.
All right, thank you.
That is eroding us very seriously.
Thank you,
please, sir, I commend your organization. God bless Nigeria. I let you have a beautiful day there in Abuja.
We wish you the same. Hello, good morning. Please, a minute so that we should have as many calls as possible so that the ES can, of course, answer all your questions. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Radio Link.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Patrick, and good morning, our guests in the studio.
Good morning.
I am Comrade Master Patrick Okoro Krafo, calling from Blue Village, Atari Harris, United States. I wish to call on the Human Rights Commission as a matter of urgency. Make their services available in all the 704 local government areas in Nigeria. Go there, educate, enlighten, and let the awareness of the Commission be known to the populace. Teach Nigerians to know their rights and to obey the constitutional authority. Schools and even all the high institutions of learning in Nigeria, civic education must be made compulsory for the people, for the students, before they graduate. We should know our rights. Now, the Commission will be talking about manpower. I will suggest to the Commission, the core members we have, please kindly go to the NYC and apply. Let them give the core members so that we send them to all the 724 local governments. In that, the local government authorities should help the Commission to assist these core members so that they will be going around the community to be educating Nigerians on how to know their rights, the right to freedom, the right to education, and the right to religion. Because what we have today is that 85% of Nigerians don't know their constitution, and there is constitution in the market. If you go to the bookshop, you see them, and the criminal code, which we are always hammering every day. All these books are in the market because we don't have reading culture. There is need for Nigerians to learn how to read and write.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Please, let's try as much as possible to stick to 1 minute. We have somebody on the line. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Radio Link. Go on, please. Go on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm Charles Obiona. I'm calling from my hometown, Umeke, Owarenkwaji.
Go on, please.
It is very unfortunate that instead of the federal government sending the police to fight insurgencies in and outside the country, the government allowed the security agents to violate human rights, to maim, kill, disturb our citizens, as seen during NSTARS, even extort monies and promote bribery and corruption, as seen at roadblocks and checkpoints. I suggest that the federal government to help human rights organizations to promote the citizens' rights in Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Hello. I can hear you. Please, just go on. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Please, just go on.
Good morning. My name is Chivu Judu Baja. I call from Imo State. Yes, I advocate for the creation of a special ministry for human rights affairs in the country, and the making of special budgetary provision for her to be used in resolving or reducing drastically all manner of abuses and violation of human rights of Nigerians through sensitization and enlightenment campaigns by the National Orientation Agency in synergy with media houses and others against this. together with the prosecution and conviction of culprits to serve as deterrent to others. I commend the Buhari-led APC government in the country for her unprecedented effort in the protection of the rights of Nigerians, especially in her prompt response to the demands of the NSAS protest by our youth, and encourage her to use this year's World Human Rights Day celebration to do more by ensuring that all manner of human rights and the violation of Nigerians are drastically reduced. I mean, to avoid the repetition of other protests with its attendant negative implications on our recessive economy now. I enjoin all the state governors in the country to borrow a leaf from the former governor of Imo State, Ojukwu, in making education free at all levels in their state.
Thank you, Jude.
And introducing the teaching of human rights as a subject in their schools so that our children and youth will use it.
Jude, thank you very much.
Know their rights and when they are being violated, abused.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
To actually report to the relevant authority.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's allow other callers to call in. Hello? So that the ES can answer your questions and, of course, listen to more of your suggestions. Hello, good morning. Hello? We can hear you. Please just go on. Yes, good morning. Good morning. We can hear you, please.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Right, this is Mr. Ojukwu calling you all the way from Ojukwu, local government area of Ebonyi State. I'm also a member of a human rights organization. First and foremost, I want to commend the General Secretary that is there in the studio with you. He has said it all. But I want to advocate that the federal government should map out funds to help human rights to establish themselves and do the right thing by making it sure that every judgment brought to the table will be charged the appropriate water, because human rights does not collect funds from anybody. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much for your contributions. I think we should just stop there for now and allow the ES to answer most of your questions. Madao Daze from Delta State talked about food dragging and asking the government to implement the rule of law, talking about the respect of everybody's rights.
Yeah, I mean, it all has been said. It's a clear indication that Nigerians are keen about having their rights respected and about also having the enabling environment for the promotion and protection of rights. It's about saying that the rights should be brought, the knowledge about human rights should be brought to the doorsteps of the people, that the commission should be in all the local government areas. You know, that is our dream. Like I said,
you talked about the progress made so far earlier,
and bearing availability of funds. That is the right thing to do. But we are also thinking of other proactive ways of being in all the local governments. For instance, some establishments are already at the local government level, like the National Orientation Agency, like the Public Complaints Commission. Is it possible that we can partner with this organization so that we don't start having a new office, but
so we build on already established institutions?
Exactly, because the government structure is getting very, very cumbersome. So the aim thing now is to try to reduce overhead in government. So the next stage we'll be doing is to discuss with these other agencies that are already have presence at the local government level. Maybe we can have something like liaison officers instead of having a full paraphernalia of office, building, chairs, table, clerks. We can have maybe just a liaison officer who can attach to these offices and be more of like a collation point for members of the public to read the commission and also to pass human rights message at that level. So we are looking at all these possibilities. Like I say, it is not yet to huru, but the point having been made by all, which is important, is that there is need for proper budgetary provision for human rights work. There is need for the commission to be present at all levels, both the federal, state, and local government, so that the human rights education, there's need for human rights education to be part of the education curriculum, so that it becomes part of the culture. As a young Nigerian is growing up, he knows the rights of others, he knows the duty to respect the right of others, and that consciousness, so that we can really transit from the military mentality to a civilian mentality, where the most important thing in a democracy is the ability to respect other people's rights. It makes democracy sweet. It makes democracy interesting. If democracy is punctuated by violation of rights, it makes it very, very hazardous. The civic space is shrinked, but democracy thrives on ability of people to express themselves, like happened during the NSAS protest. We must start looking at how do we use positively such things like this protest. In developed climes, protests can become an agent of change. When can we become a country where people can freely express their dissenting opinion, and people who are giving a different opinion from government are not seen as enemies of government? When can the opposition be seen as collaborators in national development? Now, if somebody is opposing the government, is seen as an enemy of government, and the tendency is for the law enforcement agents to go against that person. Whereas it should be part of criticism helps people to improve. And we need to get to that stage, and we have to work hard on that.
Okay, Jude Bede talked about the Special Ministry for Human Rights. Is the commission not enough?
I think the commission is enough. The commission is what the UN General Assembly recommended is having a national human rights institution like the commission, which should champion the promotion and protection of human rights. And Nigeria has fulfilled that international obligation. So there will not be any need again to have a ministry, because if you have a ministry, it's going to also have office in the 36 states, and now we already have office in the 36 states. We're even talking of now moving down to the local government. So we have passed that stage. The important thing is the one you have, how are you using it? How are you resourcing it? Are you giving it the freedom? Are you giving it the independence it requires to do its work together? I think that's where we need to put our emphasis.
There was also a suggestion Patrick Okorafor made on the use of core members to actually teach human rights or educate people on their human rites in the 774 local government areas in the country.
Right. Already we have an understanding with the NYSC. We are working out a partnership with the NYSC to see whether human rights can be adopted as one of the community development projects for youth corpers, so that some of the youth corpers who are in the camps will take their community development project as human rights. So such people can now become agents among the youth corpers who can help to take the message of human rights wherever they are serving. But you recollect that human rights is not the only challenge in the country. The youth corpers are being used for several things. Some of them are going to work in hospitals. Some of them are going to work in schools. Those who are going to teach in schools, yes, we can use them to help to teach human rights education. But youth corpers are not only going to work in schools. They're not going to only do human rights education. But we are conscious of that fact that youth corpers can be an agent to use to take the message of human rights to the people in the communities.
Okay, let's look at some of the questions that we got from the listeners. So what should Nigerians expect from these public hearings?
From the public hearings, we expect that people are able to have an opportunity. Opportunity to express your feelings is also a healing process. So the public hearings are going to provide a platform for people's hot feelings to be healed over being able to express their feelings. That's one thing. Then also it will help to give them justice, because if at the end of the day the complaint is adjudicated and they substantiate their case and they get some compensation or apology or the officer is now disciplined for that, is also an assuaging something. At least they will go home satisfied that justice has been done. The panels also is an opportunity on the accused officers to also prove their innocence.
Defend themselves.
So it's going to be fair to everybody. The panel also becomes a turning point in the narrative that it is not impunity forever, that there is a day of reckoning, and we hope that will also influence officers who are carrying out their law enforcement agencies to now insist more on behaving within their rules of engagement, so that the level of violation of human rights while law enforcement is going on can be highly reduced. Now, the panels are also going to precipitate reforms in policing in Nigeria, because even things that are not stated in their terms of reference that come into the purview of the panel can become good, useful information that can be used to reform the system. So the panels are a major instrument to bring accountability for human rights violations, and it is only accountability for human rights violations that will meet the local and international standard, that will meet the constitutional requirement, that if there is a violation of human rights, then there must be a consequence. And we think that is the kind of democracy we need. That's the kind of democracy we want. That's the kind of country we are looking for, where there are consequences for transgressions, consequences for violation of human rights. So these panels of inquiry are, of course, a key conveyor belt, a key source of bringing that accountability. And I think we should all support it. I think we should all give it all the resources it needs and all the cooperation it needs, because that is the only way we can transform our law enforcement in this country.
Okay, another question. Was it not wrong infringement of human rights to have frozen the accounts of supposed sponsors, that's quote and unquote, of the EndSARS movement?
Yes, when I heard about it, it was a sad day for me that people accounts are frozen because they participated in the EndSARS movement. But the beauty of human rights in this country is that they are able to challenge that. And of course, these cases are in court. So it will be prejudicial for me to make a comment either way or the other. But we believe in the judiciary being able to interpret whether that is a violation of their rights or not. But you can see clearly that from all indications there is a kind of public opinion against it. So we expect that the courts will do the needful. And that again is also a clear indication that in this country, if your rights are violated, you have the freedom to challenge it, and that is what is happening.
Okay. Do you think that we failed in our responsibility to the EndSARS movement?
I don't think so. Because if you look at when the EndSARS movement started, the commission quickly rallied stakeholders. We had a multi-stakeholders forum where the commission, in collaboration with the Nigerian police force and civil society groups, and also members of the EndSARS movement, we met and looked at the 5-point demands of the EndSARS movement. And we advised government. I
think it increased from 5.
Yes, the first 5, okay. So then we advised government that these 5 points were okay. They were in line with the presidential panel report on reform of the Nigerian police, and the government accepted to implement this. So we had expected that at that point that the EndSARS movement should have now engaged with the government. But then the effect of fake news and social media stepped in, where they started saying that, that if they were on the streets for 30 days, United Nations will take over Nigeria.
We saw that everywhere.
And all that. So the thing now got a little bit derailed. I think we would have maximized the use of civic space, public protest, public participation. If at that point in time, the NSAS organizers, one, they say they didn't have leaders. And how is the government going to engage with 40 million youths at the same time? That was a wrong strategy. But I can also understand their fears. I understand they were feeling that...
Some of them said that if they had leaders,
they
probably... Yeah, that's what would have happened.
Yeah, but so does it mean they were not expecting that government was going to accept the offer they made? Because
you didn't think it was going to be that easy.
But so you can see we beat them to it. By the time we now accepted, they got disorganized. They didn't know how to go. So they were expecting government to say no, and then they will now make things difficult. But government accepted. So it disorganized their strategy. So they now started increasing from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. By then the thing became a little bit disorganized.
But don't you think many things have gone wrong? Probably that's why.
Of course.
Because that was the intention. Many things had gone wrong.
Of course, but if you start, you cannot discuss everything at the same time. Those issues on NSAS and police brutality were very clear, and they were promptly responded to by government. I think we should have stayed on that. When we deal with that, then next time we go to the other one, and so on and so forth. And you can see that the strategy did not work, because that is what led us to where we are now. We could have, if we had stayed on that and engaged on that, we would have made substantial progress, and today it would have been a major progress for Nigeria.
Okay, there is another question. How should violators of human rights file their complaints to the Commission?
Yes, those whose rights are violated can simply write a complaint to the Commission stating what type of right is violated, who violated their rights, when the right was violated, where was the right violated, and what is the evidence that the right was violated. And if possible, the contact of the person who violated the right, and also state the contact of the complainant, so that we can use it to carry out more investigation. You can do this by a phone call to our call centers. You can send an email to the Commission. You can write a letter to the Commission. Or if you cannot, because it's not everybody that is educated or is good in social media, the person can physically visit an office of the Commission. There will be people who will help the person to put together whatever complaint the person has.
Okay, we have limited time to talk on this issue on human rights. We have some messages on social media from Peace Ugo. The FRCN family are trying. Please keep it up. I love the digitized version of your program. Godin Oluha, just joining you guys, are doing a great job. I appeal to the senior officers of this agency to deploy more tactics on how their junior personnel will know that there is need for civil relations. Let them know that the difference between them and us is the training they give them. That's from Marcelo Enenchi. In conclusion, I will urge the Human Rights Commission of Nigeria to have an office in all the police divisions. I think you do that. You have that already.
We don't have in all the police divisions. What we are trying to do was to establish a human rights desk in all police stations. That is still in the works. We have not been able to cascade that from IG's office up to the smallest police station, but that is in the works now. In the military, we have been able to do that, but in the police, the discussions are on.
So he's saying let this office be monitoring the police cell on a weekly basis, because some people in the police cell are not supposed to be there. Okay, I'm trying to edit things that he said. Sure. Thank you so much for your messages. And I think we have how many minutes to go now? Now we have 3 minutes to go. Now, how can the rights to peace be promoted in a multicultural society like Nigeria?
The right to peace can be promoted through allowing public participation, allowing everybody to be able to make contribution, and of course inclusive governance. Don't exclude any group of people. Don't exclude the women. Don't exclude persons with disabilities. Don't exclude older persons. Don't exclude the marginalized groups, there are minority groups, Now, when you run a system that is inclusive, that takes into consideration the interests of the women, that takes into consideration the interests of the elderly, that takes into consideration the interests of the youth. Don't forget that the NSAS was because the youth felt that their own group was marginalized. So when you run an inclusive government where all these groups, minority groups, they are all hard, they are all given opportunity to make input, then you are laying the foundation for peace. But unless you run an inclusive system that allows everybody to participate and contribute to the governance in the country, is a major challenge.
Yes, sir. You agree with me that the time is not enough. You have to come back.
We'll have to come back.
Well, so many persons have made this program a success. Usman Nuruddin, studio manager, engineers Roslyn Ojukwu, Valentine Alnalo, IT department had Jonathan Aino, Haruna Gana, online editor Timothy Bamidele, production assistant Funke Taiwo, associate producers Azizatu Sani, Obumneme Ukeje, news producer Nehemiah Nini, assistant producer Idara Opayang, producer Ulufemi Fulani, and we had the executive producer is right here, Sani Suleiman. He's been going up and down, to make sure that this program indeed becomes a success. We shall be joining our Lagos studio for the second edition of Radio Link. It is between 9 and 11 o'clock, which will be on hepatitis. That will be after the break. My name is Harriet Parkinson, and yes, of course, I did thank you for coming. Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission. Thank you so much for coming in. He has promised that he will come back.
It's good to be
and
here.
we'll hold him to his word. Thank you very much. Please stay tuned. Lagos is over to you.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.